After the European Council meeting, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki pointed out the risks posed by the proposed changes to the treaties.
Niezależnie od tego, kto rządzi,
Regardless of who is in power, we Poles have the right to decide for ourselves on those topics that most affect all compatriots, namely who pays what taxes. In the wake of these regulations that are going through the European Parliament, all this is to be abolished. Liberal left groups called the resolution a deepening of European integration. In their view, this is necessary to increase the competitiveness of the European Union's economies. It is also one of the conditions for expanding the community to include the Western Balkan countries or Ukraine.
oczekuję
I expect some changes that will improve the work of the EU, but I am not in favor of all of them. I think there is room for negotiation, compromise. The draft resolution will be voted on by the entire European Parliament in November. This document, on the basis of which one wants to change the treaty and deprive states of their sovereignty, is based on the manifesto of the communist Spinelli. After adoption by the EU Parliament, the resolution should go to the Council of the European Union and then to the European Council. It will then be decided whether a convention will be convened or an intergovernmental conference immediately. Later, the document will be referred to national parliaments for ratification. If the government is headed by Donald Tusk, the politician may support the resolution. Szymon Hołownia of Poland 2050 believes that this is not a good time to talk about changing the treaties. On the other hand, of the Polish groupings, the left is the most inclined to centralize EU structures. The Confederation, however, believes that the Parliament's actions are of little importance. Lulling Poles into the feeling that some sort of Euro-apocalypse is about to happen is an attempt to play on bad moods instead of strengthening the morale of the nation. It will be a tough nut to crack for the Polish People's Party. We must do everything to block this project at our national level. One consequence of the resolution will be to strengthen the voice of the larger EU states at the expense of the smaller ones. The number of EU commissioners is to be reduced to 15. This means that almost half of the countries will have no representation in the Union's executive body. Powers will be transferred to the Court of Justice of the European Union to strip states of European funds.
Jego przyjęcie
Its adoption would bring new disputes around competencies, would open new fields for unnecessary disputes between states and EU institutions. Among the proposals is also the creation of a defense union, including permanent European military units, in addition the recognition of gender-based violence, as well as environmental crime as EU crimes.
Plany reformy Unii Europejskiej.
The plan to reform the EU, which de facto means the construction of the Fourth Reich only in a systemic sense. So as I explained to you, the lack of veto power, a decision-making center that deprives smaller countries of a say in 65 areas that are taken out of national politics, a common mandatory currency as well. These are things that are absolutely unacceptable. The main proposed changes are the elimination of unanimity voting in the EU Council in 65 areas and the transfer of competencies from the member state level to the EU level. The content of the document was agreed upon by 5 factions: European People's Party, Socialists and Democrats, the European Green Party, Renew Europe, and the Left. The draft consists of more than 100 pages. It contains 276 amendments to 2 treaties on the European Union and on the functioning of the European Union.